It's good for you, sir. Okay, 1 second, Sis Teresa. I'm just waiting for the notification. And here we go. Here we go. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in for a special edition of Off the Record, the People's Podcast this lovely afternoon. We have a great guest with us on this Sunday. We have the Sis Teresa Muhammad, who is going to take us on a great journey, and we look forward to hearing your story. First of all, assalamu alaikum, Sister Teresa.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a conversation with us. Sister Teresa, the first thing I would like to ask you is, when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Most Honorable Sis Farakan?
Wow. Well, a month after I had had my first son, I was at home. Well, okay, my brother and I, we shared an apartment. My blood brother and I, we shared an apartment. And I had just had my first son, and I was watching Def Comedy Jam.
Okay,
And
okay.
my brother came home with another brother, and this brother was suited and booted, and he just stood at the front door. So I was looking at him, and I watched my brother rush in, and he was like, I gotta hurry up, I gotta change clothes. And I'm like, well, where are you going? And he said, I'm going to the mosque. I said, the who? He said, the mosque. And I said, the mosque. So I started asking questions. And so he was like, girl, because, back in California, we had lingos. I would call him boy, he would call me girl, he would call me nut, or dude, or guy. That was like the lingo.
Yes, ma'am.
So he was like, girl, leave me alone. I gotta get dressed. Meanwhile, this brother was just standing at the door like he was on post. I didn't know at the time, but he was just suited and booted, and he was serious. He was just unlike another.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
When I saw my brother come in and make a complete transformation, he put on his suit, and then he was like, hey girl, and he threw the Message to the Black Man to me, and he said, since you like to read, why don't you read this? And so first I flipped open the book, and then I turned off the Def Comedy Jam, and then I started reading the book. Then it was just so mind-opening. I went and got a notebook, and I started taking notes. And I was trying to stay up until my brother got home, and I was maybe 3/4 of the book. I had read 3/4 of the book, and he finally came home, and I was like, hey, I got all these questions. I was high spirited, high energy, and I tried to stop him, and he said, I'm tired now. I'll talk to you in the morning about that. So I was like, okay. So I sat there and finished reading the book, and I had like 4 or 5 notebooks of notes that I took from the Message to the Black Man. And I had questions and everything. So when he woke up, I was ready for him. I didn't go anywhere. I was just waiting for him to wake up. And I started asking questions. And he told me, well, in order to get your questions answered, you have to come to the mosque. So we need to go to the store and buy you a scarf to cover up your head. And I was like, what? No. So anyway, my brother took me shopping, and we went, found me a pretty scarf, and that time we couldn't get the scarf to stay on my head. So he was bring it anyway. Come on, let's go. Yes, so I was like, okay. So he took me to the mosque that Sunday. So, and that's when I heard the teachings in the form of a lecture. But when I was first introduced was reading the Message to the Black Man book.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Excellent. Brother King Yadish Rabbi says, Assalamu alaikum salam. My sister Naima says, Assalamu alaikum salam. Brother Corey Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum salam, family. Thank you all for watching. And Brother Victor P. Muhammad says, during the quarantine binge on Brother Josh Muhammad, praise be to Allah. King Yadish says, good testimony. All praise be to Allah, Master Muhammad. Excellent. My next question is, sister, what city was this in? Because you said California.
Yes, Compton, California. At that time, I lived in Long Beach, you know, the LBC.
Yes, ma'am, I'm familiar.
And the closest mosque was Muhammad Mosque number 54, Compton, California. And soon after that, you know, my brother and I, we started processing and studying together. And we recited the same day and received our X on the same day. So that was a beautiful time.
Beautiful. My next question is, what's your brother's name?
My brother's name is Brian.
Okay, Brother Brian, yes, ma'am. And when you went to Mosque number 54, you in Compton, who were the laborers? Like, who was teaching? Who was was the sister captain? Like, how did that work?
Sister Captain Alice Emeritus Muhammad was the sister captain. And to tell you the truth, you know, I came in with my notebooks and she sat down. You know, I came in with baby in tow. I came in with my baby. And, you know, she sat me down, told me to sit, you know, where the mothers sit with their children. And I noted, well, when I first got to the mosque, I noticed the brothers on post. Now, I didn't know anything about any brother being on post, knew what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
Saw these brothers and they were suited and booted, and you know, they were on post, so they were security minded. And so I saw that, but I didn't know what it was. And then when I walked into the mosque, I saw the brothers on the wall, and I saw the vanguard. I really didn't see a lot of MGT when I first came in. I just saw the brothers and the vanguard and Sister Captain Alice Emeritus Muhammad. And I came in with my questions. And she said, oh, no. Why don't you sit down and listen? Listen to the lecture. We'll get to your questions later, my sister. So I listened, and she was just so kind. And she was, I don't know, she was like a mother. I felt so comfortable being there.
Okay.
And, you know, my journey began. You know, we went back and forth. You know, I was so anxious to get my questions answered. She was like, in due time. And I was like, well, why won't you just answer my questions? She said, there's a class for that. And I was like, a who? A class just to get my questions answered? She said, yes, ma'am. You have to, you know, it's processing and orientation processing. Because I'm the type of person where I don't have stuff. I throw myself into what I'm interested in. I whenever the doors were open, I was there. Baby in tow. Sometimes my brother would keep my son for me while I went to the mosque. But majority of the time, it was baby in tow. Yeah, Sister Captain, wow. Remarkable, awesome, beautiful, blessed person, sister. Yeah.
Beautiful. And what year is this?
This was 1993. September, October 1993.
Okay. Beautiful. Yes, ma'am. My next question is, how did your parents feel about you and your brother? Well, you accepting teachings, but also your brother.
Well, see, my brother and I, we had a plan. My parents couldn't, you know, shy both of us away. You know? So we started, no, of course, we studied together, and we would recite to one another to make sure we got everything exact. But my parents, my parents are divorced at this time. And my father, he said that he didn't believe in a God, but he does. And so he wasn't, he was like, okay, well, both of you? I think and my brother, yes, pop, you know, yeah, this is what we're doing. He said, okay. Now my mother, she was kind of reserved a little bit, like skeptical, because of the history, you know, back in her day. You know, she was kind of skeptical. She thought that we were going to be in danger, you know, but every time we saw my mother, we would bring her a final call, bring her a bean pie, bring her a fish sandwich, and we would talk to her about what we were learning. We even gave her the Message to the Black Man and flipped to some pages and had her read. And what my brother and I, we focused on with my mother was do for self. Accept your own, love your own, love who you are, and food. Yeah, food. I think that's what really smoothed out everything with my mother. But yeah, they couldn't disown us both. So
yeah. Praise be to Allah. And thank you all for continuing to watch People's Podcast. My next question is, so this is 1993. So did Savior's Day, this was after Savior's Day in LA, or this was before?
My brother and I recited a week before Savior's Day, February 1994.
Okay.
So my first Savior's Day was at the Coliseum, the Los Angeles Coliseum.
Beautiful.
And I remember my sister that I went to orientation and process with. We were right there in the front row, in our white garments. We just enjoyed ourselves. I mean, it was just a beautiful experience.
Praise be to Allah. And that look out, it was before my time, but on YouTube, I had watched all the Savior's Days, and I know that Savior's Day, Martin was in the audience, and Johnny Gill and Dionne Warwick, Ice Cube and Ice-T. So that was, a big Savior's Day. My next question for you is, when did you go from seeing the Most Honorable Mother Farakan as maybe an activist or maybe a good speaker to someone who was divinely guided?
Wow. Back, I always listen to the minister's lectures, and the lecture that he gave when he spoke to the sisters, the divine value of the woman.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And of course, I wasn't in the audience, but when I got the video, the DVR, not DVR,
DVD.
What is it? The
DVD.
VCR tape. That is when I really sat down and listened to him and really, really, really was like, wow, he's on a whole nother level,
Yes, ma'am.
And what he was saying was very uplifting, but it also gave me that sense of, it's going to be all right. He talked about the womb and how the womb is so precious and valuable. And I think that's what really stuck to me. And then from there, I listened to how he always referenced his teacher, Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, wow. So I really took me back to the Message to the Black Man, and I really studied it more. And then after that lecture, I went to purchase the autobiography of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and really went through like his journey. And every time I listened to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he always referenced his teacher.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Teacher. He never took credit for anything. And then one time I remember he said, it's my teacher. I get everything from my teacher. And I was just like, wow, he's so humble. He's so humble and he's powerful. And I remember just a lot of things that will go through my head. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm saying, there were times where I wanted to stray because I just thought, man, they're having so much fun out there. But then I would hear the minister in the back of my head say, don't go.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not supposed to be here. And I was like, oh my goodness, sound just like my daddy. But okay, so.
Okay, beautiful. we spoke, and you told me that you were a member of a sorority. How did that come about, and why did you choose that specific sorority?
Well, when I graduated from high school, I went straight to the University of Oklahoma. See, I was recruited by Barry Switzer, who was the head football coach at the University of Oklahoma. And he was there recruiting. He was there in California recruiting Jamel Holloway, and we just happened to have an all-city track meet. And this is the track meet that you compete in before you go to state. And so we just happened to be there, and he was impressed with my work ethic at the time, because I had two coaches. I had my daddy, who was my coach, and then I had my coach, who was my coach. So I had two coaches.
Yes,
and my daddy would work on my mental, and then my coach would work on the physics of my running, what to do, when to do, how to do, and to execute. But my daddy was the main one that worked on my mental, how to prepare for my event, and what to do. So he was more impressed with, well, both my ability to run, but he was also impressed with my work ethic and how I prepared for my races. And I can only contribute that to my daddy. He's the one who taught me how to do that. So that's how I ended up getting to the University of Oklahoma. And then the plus side on that is my mother and my mother's family are from Oklahoma. So it wasn't like I was leaving home, going to school by myself. I had my mother, my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, and it was family there. So I wasn't really alone. If I got hungry, all I had to do was make a phone call.
Yes, man.
I'm hungry. So, yes, but yeah, that's how I got to the University of Oklahoma. Now for my sorority, my mother remarried, and my stepfather was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
The ice baby.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So,
yes, ma'am.
One of his conventions in San Antonio, Texas. And I got to walk around and look at the Greek life, so to speak, while enjoying the sights of San Antonio. And, I would come back and talk to my parents about what I saw. I always had the debriefing. They would always debrief me. Every time that I went out somewhere, I'd come back and I'd get debriefed. What did you see? How did you like it? All these questions, one right after the other, like, just being questioned.
Yes, ma'am.
So now I see how valuable that was, getting debriefed, because, I, not that I'm trying to skip ahead, but I do that to my children too. They get debriefed. Because I want to know their mindset. And I'm sure that's what my parents wanted to know, was my mindset. So once I came back from San Antonio and I went back to school, my eyes were open, because I was more focused on going to class and participating in track. And when I was at the University of Oklahoma, I was 17 years old. And so I was real focused on my running. And there you had to run cross country in order to run track. So, my focus was on running and going to school, because I know I had to make the grades to run. And that's what I wanted to do. So, but then my eyes were open and I started seeing, I would go to the Black Student Union and I would see the Greeks. And I would just observe. I'm always, in the back, observing. And I noticed the sororities. And I remember I got an invitation to come to a interview, but it wasn't from AKA. It was from Delta Sigma Theta.
Okay.
And I remember in the interview, they asked me what was my favorite color. And me not knowing what I'm doing, because I'm young, I don't know anything. I said my favorite color is pink. It really is. And so they kind of looked at me and they were like, okay. And so, they ended the interview, shortly after that. It was like real quick. I told them my color was pink. And I remember asking my mother, like, what happened? I didn't understand. So once she explained it to me, I was like, oh, I see.
Okay.
And it wasn't until later in my college years that I got an invitation to go to an interest meeting, and where you get a chance to meet. And I was so impressed with the ladies. I was really impressed with what they had to say, and you know, I think that's where that journey began.
Wonderful. Praise be to God. Thank you for sharing. Sister Mina Hawk says thank you for sharing as well. And thank you for your transparency, Sister Teresa. My next question is, I often ask the brothers who I interview about the Most High Mother Farakan sisters as well, but I don't want to be remiss in my duty not to ask about Mother Farakan. How has she impacted you as a sister in the Nation of Islam?
When I first saw her, I was just like, wow, she is so beautiful. And she's always smiling, even to this day. She's always smiling. And I used to just observe her. And to me, she really didn't say much at the time, but it wasn't really until I had my youngest son. His name is Zion. And Zion, this was his 10th Savior's Day that Zion's been on. But when Zion was 2, I can remember being at the Final Call booth, because I used to always stop to see what new releases came out and talk to Brother Fontaine and Sister Olivia. And Zion would disappear, he would disappear, and Brother Fontaine would say, he's okay. He's our family. And so he would come back with books that he had saw at another vendor. But when he saw Mother Khadijah, Zion would take off through the vending area to go find Mother Khadijah. And I would drop my bags and run after him, and Brother Fontaine would yell, Sister Teresa, let him go. Let him go. And so I was like, oh my God. Like I was panicking, I don't want to lose my baby. But so when I talked to Zion after that, no, I'm sorry, let me back up. I went to see what he was doing, and he was in Mother Khadijah's arms. He was sitting on her lap, in her bosom, just cuddled there. Like, I was like, oh my God, that's so, wow. That's beautiful. So when I asked him, and mind you, he's only 2 at this time. When I asked him, he would say, that's Mother, you mommy. Like, wow, now that's deep. So I always just, appreciated her and the vanguards who were her security, because they just let Zion just get comfortable.
Yes, ma'am.
So to this day, whenever Zion sees Mother Khadijah, he like, I got to go see Mother. Assalamu alaikum. So he's gone. So just being around the sisterhood, and the sisterhood is very important, because the sisterhood, all of us are teachers in our own shape, form, and fashion.
Yes, ma'am.
And and speaking on my own children, what they don't learn from me, they can learn from another sister and another brother. But going back to Mother Khadijah, she is so personable, and her genuine love for children, not just her own, but for everybody's children. She is my role model, my mentor, the one I look to when it comes to who I am today and why I chose the career paths that I chose is because of Mother Khadijah and Sister Captain Alice Amiris Muhammad, because they are the ones that taught me really about unconditional love. They are the ones that taught me, the makeup of who I am, and to be proud of the makeup I am, or the makeup that I now have or am, and to use that to educate the minds and stimulate the minds of the children that I come in contact with on a daily basis. And so I just use their guidance and how I deliver, the teachings to the group of children that I work with.
Praise be to Allah. That's beautiful. Thank you all for watching, for continuing to watch. My quick commercial break. I want to, these are the sponsors of this podcast. We have designersofcomposure.com, Khaliq's Boutique, which is on Instagram, Supreme Men's Clothing, St. Louis, Missouri, 10835 West Floor. I'm just butcher the name. My mom's getting so mad at me when I mess it up. Fluorescent Avenue. That's what we're going with. The zip code is 63136. The phone number is 314-528-555. Also, my brother Rashad has a video production company called Street Premiere. Make sure you all get it. He has video editing. He has a drone camera. They're working on films. They're working on video sets. It's just a lot, and he's very excited. I'm very happy for him and what they're accomplishing. My sister Miriam has 2 books. She's one of your sorors. ABC I Love Me children's book, coloring book, which is on Amazon. Make sure you all get that as well. It's called Cleopatra. It is a children's book. It is on Amazon. Thank you all for everyone who has supported. And if you haven't, make sure you please go do that. My father's book, A Soldier in the Army Movement of Christ, AbdulSharifMuhammad.com. Thank you all for the sponsor. If you have a business that you would like me to promote or sponsor on the podcast, J Imagination on Cash App, and I will promote it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all very much. My next question for you, Sis Teresa, is you spoke about you being in a sorority. How did you get, can you explain to me what a JD is? Because I know what a PhD is, but what is a JD? Sis Teresa? Oh, goodness. Sis Teresa. Okay, but we're waiting on Sis Teresa to get her signal back. While we were waiting on her, I want to thank you all for watching. I have a lot of due to the quarantine, I have so many interviews that are coming up this week. We have some great ones right after this one. I have a sister at 5 p.m. who's coming on to talk about her beating breast cancer and breast cancer awareness, and I think that is a powerful message. Also, next week we have, we just got some good ones. We got some good ones. Monday, Tuesday. I think I have an interview every day of the week coming up. So I thank you all. And if you all have a suggestion, if you would like to be interviewed or you have a suggestion of someone, I get interviews based off word of mouth because I don't know everybody. So please let me know, inbox me or text me or write it on my comments on YouTube to make sure that we can continue to get the history. I'm waiting on Sis Teresa to come on back. Her signal, goodness, Sis Teresa. I don't know what happened to Sis Teresa's signal. Okay, while we're waiting on Sis Teresa's signal, I just want to thank everybody for continuing to watch the People's Podcast as we wait on our dear sister. Brother Kenyatta Shabazz says he wants to thank you. Oh, thank you, Brother Kenyatta, for continuing to watch. Yes, sir. I have to reach out. If you know someone who has a plug on him, Brother Kenyatta, please let me know. All right. Come on, Sis Teresa. All right. So we're waiting on Sis Teresa to get her equipment right back working so we can continue this interview. Thank you all for watching. She has a great testimony about having a PhD. She got a master's degree twice over. She's a JD, something with attorney. She's an attorney, but I don't know exactly the exact term JD. That's what I was asking her about. Thank you very much, Brother Corey Muhammad. for saying for acknowledging that or saying that. That means a lot to me, sir. Thank you all. I'm just waiting on sister. Okay, boom, sister. There, she's back. Thank you all for your patience and understanding. And we have Sister Teresa. Let me just start the video. Boom. Come on. Sister Teresa.
I'm back.
Hey, thank you very much. Sister Teresa, so you were explaining to us what a JD is.
Oh, yes. A JD is a Juris Doctorate degree. It's a law degree.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. And thank you very much, Brother Ron. It's always, you one of my big homies, sir. I admire you very much. Thank you for showing support. Thank you, Muhammad Siaga, for that as well. Okay, yes, ma'am. My next question is, being in Compton, California, I didn't know you were AKA, you were track star, you do all this, you end up in Compton. You know what I'm saying? This is in the 90s. I mean, this is NWA, Snoop,
Yep.
and society, all of this. Did you ever fear for your life? Did you ever fear for your life or receive death threats? And if so, how did you overcome the fear?
Well, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and I never received death threats. Now, I was scared sometimes because when I was in high school, I didn't ride the school bus to school because I lived too close to the school to ride the school bus. So I rode the street bus, which was the RTD, which was nicknamed Rough, Tough, and Dangerous. So I had to walk like maybe a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile to the street bus. And I had to pass by a park. And half of the park was Bloods and half of the park was Crips.
Damn.
And it didn't help that my school colors were red, white, and blue. And it didn't help that on some days we would be decked out in all red, decked out in all blue, or it was a mixture of colors.
Yes,
but those days I was decked out in red, the Crips would be like, "What's up, Riri? What's up? What you doing?" And I would always respond with, "I go to the wash house. So that I wear these colors because I run track." They were like, "Okay, you got track meet?" And I said, "Yes, sir." They were like, "Okay, well, you better get it. You better bring it on. Let go." So, that's how I met some of the gang members. And then vice versa, when I would wear blue or red, the Crips would say something. If I wear blue, the Bloods would say something. But they all knew that I went to the wash house and these were my colors. So at first I was scared, but after letting them know, hey, I go to the wash house, everything was okay. Going to the mosque in Compton, of course, that area is rough too. All of South Central was really rough. Back up to my high school days, I can remember being on the track and there were drive-by shootings and all you heard was a whistle. Like we always practiced drills. In California, it was earthquake drills, and then we had gang drills. So when you heard a certain sequence of whistles, you knew, don't ask any questions. Just drop to the floor and get as low as you can because it was gang fighting and shooting going on. And I remember my coach used to always say, hug the ground when you hear these whistles, hug the ground. And so I remember we had dirt tracks at that time. And I remember getting up after the shooting was over and I'd just be so dirty. Oh my God. And so, I would go home and my parents would say, must have been a gang shooting. I said, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. But that was like the norm back then. But never did I once have a threat to my life or anything. But those were like my dangerous moments. But then I remember when I was leaving the mosque and you just heard brothers say, duck or something because you knew it was a drive-by coming down the street. But that didn't happen very, very often.
May Allah bless you, because I mean, Allah did bless you, but thank you for surviving in the 90s. My goodness, and Compton, I couldn't even imagine. Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for that. My next question is, since you came in 93, 94, how did the Million Man March impact you as a sister?
Well, I was viewing the Million Man March from my mom's living room couch with books in tow. And I remember the Million Man March was on every channel, CNN, ABC, NBC, you know, it was on every channel. And the words, the words that were spoken by everyone, the words, the unity that I saw with the brothers out in the audience, and listening to the commentary, because back then I would listen to the radio while I was watching the news, and I would listen to the commentary and the reporters talking about, these were the white reporters at the time. They were talking about, you know, derogatory stuff about the minister. But then you turn to the Black radio stations and you hear the commentary, and they were talking about how much of a blessing it is to see Black men together, nobody fighting, everybody smiling. And I was just like, wow, okay, this is the way to go. Like, if I didn't have any children then, but I was saying, you know, when I have my children, that this is the way to go. So those were seeds planted in me then, that carry now. And I see, you know, because I only had boys, I always taught my children brotherhood. Steel sharpens steel.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I taught them, brothers got your brother's back. And, you know, I just kept preaching and instilling in them, nagging them probably, as they would say, about the brotherhood, about, you know, this is your brother, you know, you don't check your brother out in public, you pull them inside and you correct them. You know, you don't let any discord come when it comes to your brothers outside of the home. Your place to, you know, do all your teaching and your training is in the home. So if they need to be taught something, if they need a refresher, you do that in the home. And so just those seeds planted then helped me to shape and fashion and form my method to the rearing of my children.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. Brother Duran says, speak on the RTD. The sister is a G. She went to Washington. He said he was referring to drive-bys, an everyday occurrence. Brother Samuel X. Clark said, ASA, he's a track coach. What was your events and what was your time?
My events when I was in high school were the 100 meters, the 100 meter hurdles, the 400, the 4x1 relay, the 4x4 relay, the 400, or was it 360? The 400, the 360 hurdles, and the 400 meters. And my times, I don't remember my high school times. I really don't. That was so long ago. I've been out of high school since June 18th of 1986. So yes.
But she brought the receipts, brother. I mean, you got recruited by Barry Switzer, so you know you was running fast. Okay. My next question is, what has been your greatest joy in your tenure of the Nation of Islam?
Oh, wow. My greatest joy is meeting everybody that I've met, having my Zion. Everybody knows Zion. Wait, hold on just a second. Get this though. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
That's Autumn. That's my little guard dog.
Okay, yes, ma'am. What type of dog is it?
She's a poodle chihuahua mix.
Okay, okay.
Get her.
No,
I'm sorry.
it's all good. I didn't have pets when I was like a child growing up, so I didn't really understand. But I grew up in the suburbs, so everybody had dogs in the backyard with invisible fences, all that kind of stuff. But when I got older, my mom's got a cat, and I got very attached to the cat. I didn't want to get attached because I'm being serious and I didn't want to be emotional. But I loved my mom's cat. Like I didn't know you could like an animal like that before. So I until then I didn't understand what the fascination with pets were. So I get it. So I understand. Yes, ma'am. Okay, my next question for you is: what advice would you give to future mothers?
Well, I would suggest to future mothers to know yourself, to love yourself. And before you get pregnant, make sure you know who you are. Make sure you know your nature. Make sure that you are studied. Make sure that you are preparing for motherhood. My saying that I live by is proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. And so I'm always preparing. You know, my dad taught me about planning. He told me that you need more than one plan. You need to have an alphabet worth of plans, and you need to be able to execute these plans in case one fails. You don't have time to stop and think and plan and strategize. All that work is done prior to something happen. So I would just say, get in your studies. Always study. Always be a lifelong learner, no matter what it is.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Always love yourself mostly, because when you become a mother, then when you get pregnant, you start sharing right off the bat. That baby is getting your nutrients that you're putting in your body. So before you get pregnant, you just have to make sure that you have prepared yourself for that journey, because it doesn't stop. I'm always preparing myself as a mother. My children are 26, 19, 17, and 8, and then I have a 2-year-old grandbaby. So I'm always learning something else about me. You know, I'm learning all the time about patience and you know, when I feel myself getting ready to maybe almost kind of do scream, I'm like, okay, I need to go to prayer and seek assistance through prayer, to make sure that my mind is clear, that I'm thinking properly, so that my reaction is appropriate to whatever situation that could be going on. For example, one of my children, they love football. And so having to be creative about practicing, because, you know, sports has completely stopped during this quarantine.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we have to be creative in keeping ourselves motivated. And so with him particularly, because he was spring football, you know, it's football season.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It's like all year is football season.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You know, keeping him motivated, you know, I have to come with words, and I don't even know where these words come from, but I have to keep him motivated and to stay focused. You know, don't give up. You know, this is a time to perfect whatever you need to perfect. And so what do we need to do? So we have push-up contests. We have sit-up contests.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I turned my living room into a skating rink, and so we skate.
Okay, we got to stop right there, Sis Teresa. I mean, I know you got a PhD, 2 master degrees over. You're a JD, the attorney, but I ain't never heard somebody having a skating rink in their living room. Now, wasn't that? Explain that. How did you do that? How did you do that?
Well, you know, I'm a people person, and I started skating when I was at Venice Beach. I used to, you know, go to Venice Beach and start skating. So that has been a love throughout my life skating. So, I had to be very creative. So I went to Home Depot and I bought some plywood.
Okay.
And I measured my floor out, after I moved my furniture around and got my measurements, went to Home Depot and got my plywood, my smooth plywood, and and laid it across my living room floor and turned on the music, and that's all she wrote. So, you just have to be creative in what you do. And since I'm not going to say I'm scared, but I'm very, very cautious these days, about going outside. You can go outside and they say you can go outside and walk and run. Not me. So what I do, is I turn on the TV and I get to exercising. There's exercise programs that come on TV, or I FaceTime some of my sisters, and we have our exercise routine. But I think the joy that I'm finding now, and I think it's really, really simple, is to see smiles on my children's face. These are lessons to where, you have to be creative in what you say, but it's the simple things right now that mean the most. And, I know this might sound crazy, but since I'm a student in the teachings, the life-saving and life-giving teachings,
yes, ma'am,
I go back to all my study material, the Quran, Message to the Black Man, Closing the Gap, Brother Dimitrich's books, Minister Ava's books. I go back to the Word and I breastfeed on the Word to keep my spirit up. When I feel like I just can't go on. Like I'm going through a trial, like right now, and that's caring for my father, and and just watching him in this stage is really, really hard, because never in my million years would I have thought that I would be caring for my father like I am. Yes, and so, based on the teachings and based on the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I've had to exercise my degrees, so to speak, and letting them know that my father will not be here. He will be at home with his family. And stop asking me because, he's coming home or he's going to be home with me. And I do have my father here with me. And so, I just had to exercise that I'm not going to say mama bear, but I think that's a good way to describe it. Yes, but it's the little things, just the little things that I'm so grateful and blessed for. And I wouldn't trade my journey, because every trial that I've been through, I've always went back and regained my strength through the teachings, through the words, through the lectures, through just milking on the teachings. Yeah. So just the small joys, the smiles, the laughter. I never realized that my children were comedians, but my children are comedians. Yes, so I have to say the laughter. I can tell you that my house is never quiet. My children, I call them the boys. Yes, they are, they're comedians. They keep me laughing. My rearing of my children is so strategic. They know I'm mommy, so I don't have to keep reminding them that I'm mommy. But I do tell them, that we're all a part of a team. And as a team, just like the human body, we all have our parts to do to make sure that, we're unified in what we do. We're unified in how we move. And I couldn't have done that without being in my MGT class. I couldn't have done that without going to the mosque and getting my spiritual development.
Yes, ma'am.
And learning from my sisters and learning from my brothers. I can remember my first dojo class when you hit the mat and you say, "Ooh," I remember that.
Yes, yeah.
Just the little things that I'm so appreciative of, because that is, what I pull from in this day to help me, keep the smile on my face and keep the laughter alive. And I think outside the box sometimes, and I always tell my children, sometimes you have to think outside the box to get to the end result, because there's always, and I hate to use this phrase because you love cats so much, but there's always a million ways to skin a cat.
Look at you, my God. Kill the cat. Oh, goodness. Yes, ma'am. That's true. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
okay, excellent. Welcome salam, Sister Miriam. Brother Duran said the 6 P's, referring to your P's earlier. Welcome salam, Brother Michael. We answered that already, Brother Samuel. So I gotta go to the beginning. And thank you all for watching. My last question for you, Sister Teresa, is what would you like your legacy to be?
I would like my legacy to be that I am a sister, your sister, and your sister first. I would like to be known as a person who was very humble and meek, who's a giver. I consider myself a children magnet because I'm always around children. And I think that every child that I encounter is mine, and I'm going to treat you accordingly. I think everybody's children is mine. And, I learned so much from children, and children have the opportunity to learn from me. I never thought that I was really appreciated until we had this quarantine, because I get text messages and emails from the children and the students that I have the honor and privilege to teach and share knowledge with.
Yes, ma'am.
And they tell me how thankful they are that I am their teacher, and that that I extended, my phone number, I extended my email to them, so that they can always be in contact with me in case they need to talk. And why they come to me to talk, I don't know. But I think that, to add on to that, I think my sense of humor, my love for life, and that I can make a mean pot of bean soup.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Okay.
So, yes, sir.
Wonderful. I want to thank you for coming on very much, Sis Teresa, and thank you for always showing love to the People's Podcast. I look forward to meeting you, because I feel like I know you already because we watch the show all the time, so we interact that way. But please give your family and let them know we thank them for their sacrifice. I mean, you are having a good time skating during the quarantine. My escape is video games. You know what I'm saying? And of course, the Word of God and teachings, of course. But besides that, video games and reading. So thank you all for watching. And Sister Teresa, just thank you for your spirit.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
my pleasure.
Thank you for spirit. And I'm very grateful that Allah allowed you to make it out of the murder capital of the Western region of Compton, California, so that you could be, a great educator and attorney today. All right. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Teresa.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for watching.